Hey guys, this is Andrew again here in Brazil, and I'm doing the third of my puppetry videos that I'm recording for my niece and nephews. They're in North Dakota, who they just got their puppets, and they're all excited about doing puppetry ministry there in the church. And so far I've talked about giving life to the puppets, and I've talked about how to move the mouth, the proper way for the puppet's mouth to move. Um, Today I want to talk a little bit about arm rods. Now I had a difficulty when I pulled my puppets out of the mothballs. I couldn't find any of my arm rods. Most puppets operate by arm rods. That is, the arm is connected to a rod and so on. And so I couldn't find any of those. And even the first video I did, the puppet didn't have any arm rods, so his arms kind of just flopping all over the place. So you really want to have arm rods for your puppets to add that other bit of realism. Once again, all of this has to do with giving life to your puppets. Now, in my experience, arm rods are some of the most, well, let me put it this way. If you do a lot of puppetry work, you're going to be buying a lot of arm rods because the arm rods tend to wear out faster than anything else. And they get bent, they get broken, they get lost. Now, most arm rods are just like a metal rod connected usually to a Velcro patch, and then this Velcro that is connected to a Velcro strip, which goes around the puppet's arm, and so then the puppet's arm gets moved by that like that. Well, I had to improvise, and so I just wanted to show you this little way I improvise. It's a quick way if you happen to have to do something really quick with puppets, and oh no, where are the arm rods? Well, you could try this. First off, I took an ordinary coat hanger, and I took the coat hanger and using this handy set of pliers, I unwound the coat hanger, and as much as possible, I straightened it out. Now, once wire's been bent, you'll never be able to get it totally straight, but as I got it as straight as possible, spent a fair amount of time doing that. And then on either end of it, where you unwind it, there are two little curly areas. And so using these wire cutters right here. These are the only two tools I use: pliers, wire cutters. Using the wire cutters, I snapped off the curly ends on the end, and so I had a relatively straight uh, piece of wire. And so then I folded that exactly in half. Using the wire cutters again, I cut it in half. So then I had two roughly equal size uh, pieces of wire. Now, if you're looking at this, you can see at the very end, I took the pliers again, and this took a lot of work. It's kids, if you're doing this, your dad is probably going to want to do this. Um, I bent it around. Oh, okay, there we go. I bent it around so that it formed like a little loop. All right, that's important. You have to have that loop because that loop is what's going to make it be able to hook onto the arm of the puppet. Now, then I took a common everyday rubber band and I threaded it through the loop. Okay, so you thread it through the loop. Ta-da! And then, so you have something that looks kind of like that. All right. And I took the puppet. Here's Hector's arm, and you spread out the loop. Take Hector's arm, the puppet's arm, and you put it around like so, and voila, you have yourself a rod arm. Now, in using this between yesterday and today, um, I discovered it doesn't have the same mobility as a normal arm rod does. It's a little tough, a little harder to get used to. You only do this if you're like in my situation now, where you have to do something real quick, and you have kind of a deadline, and you need an arm rod. Well, here's a cool way to make an arm rod using stuff that you already have at home. Okay, but once again, I would recommend go and spend the extra money and get professionally made arm rods. And in fact, get more than you need. Okay, get extras and store them in a place where you'll know where they're at, because like I said, arm rods tend to get bent, get lost, get broken more quickly than all the other puppet equipment that you can use. Okay, so let's call Hector back up here. How you doing, Hector? Hey, I'm doing pretty good. All right. Hector has the use of his arms, and I want to talk to you about a couple things. Remember, I said at the very beginning, you never let your puppet die, and never let him, just completely still. While I'm talking, he's just looking there like a zombie. Okay, he needs to be moving around. And one thing that can help with that is the arm movements. Now, when you use the puppet's arm, Hector, I have both arm rods on him. Okay, so he's both of his arms are useful. Okay, are able to be used. However, uh, to maintain the realism, you need to practice using one arm at a time. Okay, now there's some puppeteers they just grab hold of one arm rod and they just hang on to that arm rod, and he only uses this arm, and this arm is kind of hanging limp to the side. Okay, and we don't want that. We want him to have the full use of both arms. So as you're talking, he's sitting here and he's stroking his chin, he's scratching his head a little bit, yeah, and he may be bored with what I'm saying, so he's yawning, okay, or doing other things, and you practice doing these things. Now, you don't want him doing all of these things with just one hand. So he's stroking his chin with this hand, okay? And then with this hand, he yawns. Oh. And then with this hand, he scratches his head or straightens out his hair, okay? And like he's looking in the mirror, straightening out his hair. Okay, very good. So now, all of those things, and to do that, you have to practice moving back from one arm to the other. From one to the other. Now I'm going to put him up a little bit so you can see how this works. Now you got it. This requires awareness. It requires awareness of where your puppet arms are. So while you're thinking about all the other things, about the posture, about the proper correct movements, you've also got it kind of in the back of your mind. Be aware of where the rod arms are. And so he's here. Oh, he yawns, and then you can just switch right away to stroking his chin, or if he's hungry, he's rubbing his tummy. Oh man. And all kinds of other things that you can do. Now, there is a technique that you can use for when you need to do both hands at the same time. This technique is a little hard to master, and it's even harder to master when you have homemade arm rods like I do. This is one area where, because the professionally made arm rods usually have a plastic coating, and that plastic coating makes them easier to move together. I have just two metal wires here, and so moving together causes a little friction. However, I want to show you how this works. If you need to use both arms, you can see here, I think, both of the rods. Put your hand out flat, put your pinky in between the other two, and bring that around so it forms an X. Okay, so you're forming the X. If you look on the back, the X is formed with your little finger. Bring it around, and then you close your other hands, and so you close your other fingers rather, and so the only thing that are open are your thumb and your forefinger. Okay, so you've got your thumb and your forefinger out, and then with those two you can control all of the movements of his hand. Okay, so he can do a little dance. He can clap his hands. Okay, he can okay, all kinds of different stuff that you can do with both hands. And once again, it's just a case of practice, getting in front of a mirror and seeing what comes out. Okay, and practice. And another thing, I just want to caution you, when you're backstage and you're using arm rods, you're using one hand, and then you use another hand, and this other one's kind of flopping around. Be very careful about the people next to you. If you're working with other puppeteers, be very careful about them, because those can get in someone's eye or can hit them on the head or whatever. So you just want to be safe while you're back there. Make sure you keep a good enough distance between the two of them and don't flail them around. Okay, keep your arm rods under control as you're working back there. Okay, so those are a few hints about how to make your puppet more alive using his arms. Okay, now the next one I'm going to talk about some different things, the way a puppet moves around the stage, that's important. But for now, we'll deal with just the arms. Once again, this is Uncle Andrew with some more puppetry tips. Until next time.